Welcome to our explainer on peak performance science. Today, we're unlocking the limitless potential of the human mind, drawing directly from the insights of a leading neurologist. We're going to completely shift how you view success, stress, and your daily habits. And we're starting with a shocking statistic that might just make you rethink your entire day. Get a load of this. A massive survey revealed that an astonishing 95% of people are procrastinators. 95%? But here's the thing, it's not some moral failing, it is literally just biology. You see, the human brain is fundamentally lazy. It loves the comfort of its current state, and it actively resists burning energy on new or difficult tasks. So that begs a really fascinating question. If 95% of us are just biologically wired to be lazy, what actually separates a struggling brain from a billionaire's brain? Like, can you actively rewire your own reality to actually crave hard work and success? Well, the science says absolutely yes. Today, we're decoding a science-backed brain manual, taking you on a chronological journey. We'll cover mastering your brainwaves, the MOVERS morning routine, who controls your emotions, rewiring for limitless success, and finally, the science of resilience. Let's jump right in. All right, part 1, master your brainwaves. Let's start with the very first thing that happens when you open your eyes. What's absolutely crazy here is how our modern habits completely destroy our natural biology. When you're in a deep sleep, you're in a delta state. When you're actively engaged in your day, solving problems, you're in beta. Now, ideally, you should transition smoothly through theta and alpha to get there. But waking up to a jarring, loud alarm, that jerks you straight from delta deep sleep into fast-paced beta. You're entirely skipping the transition, which completely ruins your brain's natural gear shift and instantly spikes your stress levels right out of the gate. Which brings us to part 2, the MOVERS morning routine. To hack those powerful, creative theta and alpha transition states instead of shocking your system, highly successful people use this highly intentional morning routine. Dedicate just 5 minutes to each of these steps. M is for meditation. O is for oxygenation, basically breathwork, then visualization, exercise, reading positive material, and finally scribing, which is just journaling out any negative thoughts. Crucially, while you're doing this, get early sunlight in your eyes to activate your brain's clock. Oh, and listen to this. Strictly avoid caffeine for the first hour. Your brain just doesn't need that artificial beta spike when it's trying to naturally boot up. Let's zoom in on the V in that routine for a second. Visualization isn't just some magic trick. It literally physically primes your neural circuits and chemicals for success before an event even happens. There was this fascinating study showing that people who merely imagined playing the piano experienced the exact same brain cell growth as those who were physically practicing the keys. It acts as a stress-reducing rehearsal for your reality. Like the quote says, first you become here in the brain, then you become here in reality. Moving on to part 3, who controls your emotions? Because as you get into your day, a literal battle begins inside your head. It's a showdown between two distinct regions of your brain. On one side, you have the primitive limbic system, including the amygdala. This acts as your internal threat scanner, triggering your fight, flight, or freeze response. It honestly keeps about 80% of people trapped in a reactive loop of fear and self-doubt. But on the other side is the prefrontal cortex. This is your logic and command center, making up a massive 40% of your brain. Peak performers actively harness this huge prefrontal cortex to convert emotional reactions into calm, logical responses. And the way you actually strengthen that prefrontal cortex comes down to this famous rule in neuroscience: neurons that fire together, wire together. Basically, if you constantly focus on stress and overthinking, you're actively wiring your brain for anxiety. But if you consciously focus your attention on solutions and calm logic, you build rock-solid neural circuits for limitless success. It's wild to think about, but where you put your attention literally builds your brain architecture. Okay, let's dive into part 4, rewiring for limitless success. The really empowering truth here is that your brain is never fixed. Thanks to neuroplasticity, you can rebuild these circuits at any age. And the very first step to rewiring your day is identifying your chronotype. This is essentially your body's natural internal clock. You've got to figure this out so you can align your hardest tasks with your brain's natural energy peaks, rather than constantly fighting against your own biology. So you need to know which of these 4 you naturally belong to. Are you a lion, peaking early in the morning? A bear, hitting your stride mid-morning to early afternoon? Maybe you're a wolf, a total night owl with late energy peaks. Or a dolphin, with totally random or inconsistent peaks. Knowing this lets you stop fighting your biology. Though incredibly, if you need to, you can consciously shift this clock through really dedicated habits. But here's the catch. Once your schedule is dialed in, you have to break the deadly monotony of daily life. Monotony literally puts your brain to sleep. And the way you break it is by using multi-sensory exercises known as neurobics. These are beautifully simple things you can do every day. Try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Take a completely different route to work. Give mirror writing a shot. Writing backwards, so it reads normally in a mirror, which is a technique Leonardo da Vinci famously used. Or actually physically touch and smell items while you're grocery shopping instead of just ordering online. These little things force your brain off autopilot and build completely new, resilient neural pathways. And that brings us to our final section, the science of resilience. Let's look at how all of this comes together when things get tough. Because a limitless brain isn't just about productivity hacks. The true test is how your newly rewired brain handles failure, anger, and heartbreak. When things go wrong, anger is literally a 13-second chemical hijack of your amygdala. Just 13 seconds. If you can just ride out that tiny window, the power of the anger diffuses. To completely diffuse it, simply take a deep breath and count backward from 100. It's that easy. Now, for deeper emotional pain, like a bad breakup or business failing, you want to use the ABC technique. A is awareness of the emotion. B is breath work to slow the mind down. And C is a strict commitment to your daily routines. This framework stops the limbic system from trapping you in a toxic rumination loop and forces the brain back into a state of logical control. And speaking of deep emotional pain, neuroscience actually reveals that men and women often process relationship grief completely differently due to our evolutionary biology. Women tend to process things immediately, driven by initial oxytocin bonding hormones and stronger emotional memory. Men, who are evolutionarily wired for monofocal attention, often use distraction at first. For them, the emotional impact usually hits much later, sometimes triggered by ego or FOMO. Ultimately, the pain is equally profound for both, but the biological processing timeline is totally different. So, despite all these complexities we've talked about today, the chronotypes, the emotional processing, the brain waves, a massive study auditing tens of thousands of human thoughts revealed a surprisingly simple truth. Out of the 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts we have every single day, what does our brain actually care about? Turns out, your brain essentially dumps its entire cognitive load into just 3 core buckets: health, wealth, and relationships. That's the whole shebang. It completely simplifies your formula for personal growth. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed by everything you need to fix in your life, just remember you really only need to optimize these 3 areas. Which brings us to our big final thought. Your reality is entirely shaped by where you focus your energy today. Every single thought is wiring a circuit. So take control of your prefrontal cortex, step off of autopilot, and consciously build the life you want. Out of your 50,000 thoughts today, what are you choosing to wire your brain for?